She was born different, not with beauty, not with grace, but with something far more dangerous: power. Her name was Emma Reed. Simple name, strong girl, but her gift would change everything. When she was 3, she touched a dying bird. Her hands glowed soft and warm. The bird opened its eyes, spread its wings, and flew away. Her mother screamed. "What did you do?" she whispered. "What are you?" Emma didn't understand. She thought helping was good. She thought saving things was right. She was wrong. Thedunning to sotpanaito to pend phopos. Her family called it magic. Then they called it evil. Then they called it a curse that would destroy them all. Her mother cried every single night. "Why did God give me this child?" She would sob into her pillow. "Why did I birth a monster?" Her father built locks, heavy ones, iron ones. He put them on Emma's door, on her windows, on everything. By the time she turned 10, Emma lived in the cellar. Dark, cold, alone, alone. No sunlight touched her face. No kind words reached her ears. Just silence and the constant weight of their fear. "Octistai." She would sit in that darkness and whisper to herself, "I'm not bad. I just want to help. I just want them to love me." But love never came. Years passed. Emma grew taller, stronger, but smaller inside. The girl who once saved birds now barely spoke above a whisper. When she turned 18, her mother made a choice. "You cannot stay here," she said through the cellar door. "You're too dangerous, too wild. The neighbors are starting to talk." Emma pressed her face against the cold wood. "Please, Mother, I'll be good. I'll hide it better." "No." Her mother's voice was ice. "You'll marry. A duke wants a wife. He'll take you far from here, far from us." A duke, a stranger, a man who would own her like property. "Tu knew of him, when not the all-powerful power from the most powerful. Wide Bordek the died, known of to Bordek timos, of you can power." The letter came 3 days later, sealed in red wax, heavy paper that smelled like roses and secrets. "You are betrothed to Lord Ethan Cole, Duke of Ashwood. The wedding is arranged. Your dowry is paid. You leave tomorrow." No mention of love. No promise of kindness. Just duty and disposal. Emma sat on her thin mattress and stared at the letter. Her hands trembled, not with power this time, but with fear. "I'm not a monster," she whispered to the empty room. "I'm just different. I'm just me." But no one cared about her heart. No one cared about her dreams. They just wanted her gone. Totram. The black carriage arrived at dawn, cold, silent, like a hearse. Emma stood in her torn dress, her messy hair, her heavy heart. She carried one small bag with everything she owned. Her mother wouldn't look at her. Her father counted coins in his hand. "Goodbye," Emma said softly. They didn't answer. She climbed into the carriage. The door slammed shut. The wheels began to turn. As they pulled away, Emma looked back one last time. Her house grew smaller. Her family disappeared. Her old life ended. She was alone now, completely alone. But she didn't cry. Not yet. She held her head high and whispered, "This is my chance. Maybe he'll be different." She didn't know yet that the man waiting for her would see her gift, not as a curse, but as something beautiful. She didn't know that everything was about to change. Tamos and couples of us matri team intred some did spet some did come spell. Post-read in a floppy quidopar, recent in geotrids the process of word breakrum to send it at it toring, not it post and is the pal, tisuan pramiti storing and abricambactis. His name was Ethan Cole, Duke of Ashwood, Lord of the Northern Lands, master of a castle that touched the clouds. People said he was made of stone, that his heart was frozen, that he felt nothing, wanted nothing, cared for nothing. They were wrong. Power some totally champion, or bishom, id knowing when dishov bepeakt tort, venon mumbled the mo polv the menon pulsaured powerful moustenken. Ethan had dark hair that fell over darker eyes. He was tall, broad, quiet in the way that strong men often are. He wore black clothes every day, not because he was mourning, but because bright colors felt like lies. He lived alone in his castle, no servants bustling about, no guests filling his halls, just books, silence, and memories he couldn't escape. His castle sat on a hill like a sleeping giant, stone walls thick enough to stop armies, windows tall enough to frame the sky, rooms empty enough to echo with loneliness. But Ethan chose this emptiness because people brought noise, and noise brought pain, and pain brought memories of his brother. Might. James had been everything Ethan wasn't. Bright where Ethan was dark, laughing where Ethan was serious, kind where Ethan was careful. The war took James on a Tuesday, a stray arrow in a meaningless battle, 22 years old with a smile that could melt winter. Ethan brought his brother's body home, buried him under the oak tree, and never spoke his name again. But late at night, when the castle was quiet, Ethan would walk to that oak tree and whisper, "I'm sorry, James. I should have saved you. I should have been faster." The tree never answered, but the wind through its leaves sounded almost like forgiveness. Torquami mo, torquaminio, torquam stuli, to pork thamidog, to pork thing. Then came the letter from the king. "Lord Cole, there is a girl, Emma Reed. She has abilities, dangerous ones. Her family fears her. The people whisper about her. Take her as your wife. Keep her safe. Keep others safe from her. Do not let her power destroy anyone." Ethan read the letter twice, then 3 times. A girl with power. A girl who was feared. A girl who needed protection or imprisonment. He thought of James, how his brother always helped wounded animals, how he never turned away from anything that was hurt or lost. "What would you do?" Ethan asked in the empty room. But he already knew. James would help her. James would see her pain and want to heal it. Ethan wrote back to the king, "I accept." Not because he wanted a wife, not because he needed love, but because he understood what it felt like to carry something dark inside you, to be blamed for things beyond your control. He understood what it meant to be feared. And maybe, if he could help this girl, maybe James would finally forgive him for all the people he couldn't save. So he waited, in his empty castle, with his silent rooms, for a bride he'd never met, but already wanted to protect. He didn't know she would save him just as much as he saved her. He didn't know that her light would chase away his shadows. He didn't know that everything was about to change. Podemark. The castle appeared through the morning mist, like something from a dream or a nightmare. Emma pressed her face to the carriage window. Stone towers reached toward grey clouds. Windows stared down like watching eyes. The whole place felt waiting. "Are you sure this is right?" she whispered to the driver. He nodded, but wouldn't look at her. Even he was afraid. Mild. The carriage stopped. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. She stepped out on shaking legs. Her dress was wrinkled from the journey. Her hair had escaped its pins. She felt small, dirty, wrong. Then she looked up. He stood in the doorway, tall, dark, still as stone. This was her husband, this stranger who would own her life. She waited for him to speak, to command her, to show his anger at getting such a broken bride. Instead, he walked down the steps, slowly, like approaching a frightened animal. "Emma Reed." His voice was low, calm. She nodded, words stuck in her throat. "I'm Ethan, not Lord Cole or your Grace, just Ethan. You must be tired and cold." She blinked. No anger, no disappointment, just concern. "Come inside," he said. "There's tea." Die. The castle's main hall was nothing like she expected. No fancy paintings, no golden chairs, no armies of servants watching her every move. Just a simple room, a wooden table, 2 chairs, a fireplace crackling with warm light. It felt safe. Ethan poured tea from a plain pot. Steam rose between them like morning clouds. "This is your home now," he said, setting a cup before her. Emma stared at the tea. "Your home." "Ours." He sat across from her. "Not too close, not too far. You're not a prisoner here." She looked up quickly. "I'm not." He shook his head. "You're free to go anywhere, do anything. This is your choice." Free. The word felt foreign to her ears, like a language she'd forgotten. "But the marriage can wait." Ethan sipped his tea. "Until you're ready, if you're ever ready." "No isain tai dablotkai, tasai skorpit powerful ties money smeist and powerful modes placed and off the iced in pratis minen." Emma's hands trembled around her cup. This wasn't what she expected. Where was the cruelty, the demands, the chains? "Why?" she whispered. "Why what? Why are you being kind?" Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Because someone should be." Tears burned Emma's eyes. When was the last time someone had been simply kind to her? She couldn't remember. "Pritchubana words that you speak in Newing Stirkleising. Odilax pakuk drod wambo. Not to bow you can debow. You can the paves a pari called debow. Not to bow bad double say. One day stupiden, fine solman dolls, pudrentalox." After tea, Ethan showed her to her room. It had a real bed, clean sheets, a window that looked out over gardens. "There are books," he said, pointing to a shelf, "about healing, about plants. I thought your letter mentioned you liked to help people." Emma's breath caught. He'd read between the lines, seen past the fear to what she actually loved. "You don't mind the helping?" Ethan almost smiled. The world needs more healers. That night, Emma sat by her window and watched the stars. For the first time in years, she wasn't locked in, wasn't hidden away, wasn't treated like a monster. She was just Emma. And maybe that was enough to start with. Tonight, preet mitidolbelent. Days fell into a gentle rhythm. Emma woke up with the sun, made tea in the quiet kitchen, fed the birds that gathered outside her window. Ethan worked at his desk, read letters, managed his lands, but he always stopped when she entered a room, always asked if she needed anything, always listened when she spoke. It had been so long since anyone listened to her. See, the castle had a garden, wild and overgrown, but alive with possibility. Emma found herbs there. Mint for stomach pain, lavender for sleep, chamomile for worry. She began making simple medicines, just for practice, just to remember who she was beneath all the fear. Ethan found her there one morning, hands deep in earth, hair falling around her face, actually smiling. "The garden likes you," he said. Emma looked up. "How can you tell? It's been dead for 3 years. Now look at it." She followed his gaze. Green shoots everywhere, flowers budding, life returning. "Maybe it just needed someone to care," she said softly. "Maybe we all do."
Laws.
The first person who needed help was Mary, a village girl with a fever that wouldn't break. Her mother brought her to the castle gates, desperate, crying. "Please," she begged Ethan, "the doctor can't help, but they say your wife has gifts." Emma froze. They knew, the whole village knew what she was. Ethan looked at her, not demanding, not forcing, just asking. Emma took a deep breath. "Bring her inside." The little girl burned with fever. Her skin was hot as fire. Her breathing came in short gasps. Emma sat beside the bed, placed her hands gently on the child's forehead. "Don't be afraid. she whispered, not to the girl, to herself. Light flowed from Emma's fingers, soft, warm, healing. The fever broke. The child's breathing eased. Colour returned to her cheeks. Mary's mother wept with joy. Thank you, oh thank you. Emma's hands shook. She'd used her power in front of strangers, and instead of screaming, they thanked her. You did good, Ethan said quietly. For the first time in her life, Emma felt proud of her gift. Timen ofta payten fort. She taped Wandi to spick him out to powerful mothende Kate Cavilio. Word spread through the village. The Duke's wife could heal. She was kind. She was safe. They came slowly at first. One person, then two, then families. Emma treated burns, set broken bones, eased pain that doctors couldn't touch. She never asked for payment, never demanded thanks. She just helped, because that's who she was. Ethan watched from doorways, brought her food when she worked too long, made sure she rested. Why do you care? She asked him one evening. They sat by the fire, her hands tired from healing, his eyes tired from watching her work. Because you don't ask for anything in return, he said. You just give. That's rare. Emma looked at him, really looked, past the serious face to the gentle heart beneath. You give too, she said. You gave me a home, freedom, kindness. That's different. How? Ethan was quiet. Then, because I needed to give it. You deserved it. Something warm bloomed in Emma's chest. Not her healing power, something else, something that felt like hope. Something else, something that felt like... Winter came early that year. Snow fell thick and heavy. The village struggled. Emma worked harder, treating colds that turned dangerous, helping elderly people whose bodies couldn't fight the cold. Ethan chopped wood for families who had none, brought food to empty kitchens, never taking credit, never seeking praise. They made a good team, Emma healing bodies, Ethan healing circumstances. One night, after a particularly hard day, they sat together in comfortable silence. I was wrong about you, Emma said. How so? I thought you'd be cruel, like everyone else. Ethan looked into the fire. I thought you'd be dangerous, like they said. I am dangerous. No. He turned to her. You're powerful. That's different. Emma felt something shift inside her chest, like a door opening, like light streaming in. For the first time, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't a monster after all. Tosteltmoen or bost plav, Patripisaid, why send to Danafant awful bullet ice tumid, trim inside Powervan Sumpter. Spring brought new challenges. A plague hit the northern villages. People fell sick faster than Emma could heal them. Fever, weakness, fear. She worked day and night. Her power flowed stronger than ever before, brighter, steadier, more controlled. But it wasn't enough. I need help, she told Ethan. I need to teach others. Teach them what? Simple healing, basic herbs, things they can do when I'm not there. Not? Emma gathered the village women, mothers, daughters, grandmothers with gentle hands. She showed them which plants eased pain, how to make teas that fought infection, when to use cool cloths and when to use warm. Some were afraid at first. Magic was still frightening to them. But Emma was patient. She explained everything, showed them the difference between her gift and simple knowledge. This, she said, holding up dried willow bark, anyone can use. This comes from learning, not from power. Slowly, they began to trust, to learn, to help. Nipijro, not wivo, de most in order for bind protek long stroblide timger, the nuffle to bride, the mass, the protek lice and a nictigord. The plague weakened, not because of Emma alone, but because of all of them working together. The village women became healers in their own right. They saved lives, they comforted families, they proved that healing came from the heart, not just from magic. Emma watched them work and felt something she'd never felt before. Pride, not in her power, but in what she'd built, what she'd taught, what they'd accomplished together. "You did this," Ethan said, finding her watching from the hill. "We did this. You started it. You trusted them with knowledge. You made them brave." Emma looked at him. "You made me brave first." "Tuai, redwine o powerful ponti tuai, nadal post metal." That summer brought visitors, nobles from other lands who'd heard about the healing Duchess. They came expecting to see magic tricks, entertainment, something to gossip about at parties. Instead, they found a woman who worked with her hands, who knelt in dirt to tend gardens, who treated servants the same as lords. Some were disappointed, others were intrigued. Lady Catherine of Westmore stayed the longest. She watched Emma work for 3 days. "You're not what I expected," she finally said. "What did you expect?" "A sorceress, someone dark and mysterious, someone to fear." Emma smiled. "I'm just a woman who learned to use her gifts. That's what makes you extraordinary." Tor. Word reached the capital. The king himself sent a message. "Lady Cole, your reputation precedes you. The realm has need of healers. Will you come to court?" Emma stared at the letter. The royal court, where her parents had sent her away from, where power and politics mixed like poison. "I don't want to go," she told Ethan. "Then don't." "But the king serves the people, and you serve them better here." Emma felt relief wash over her. Ethan understood. He always understood. But she also felt something else. Curiosity. What if I could help more people? What if the court needs healing too? Ethan was quiet. "Then, what do you want to do?" No one had ever asked her that before. What she wanted, what she chose. Emma thought about it, really thought. "I want to stay here," she said finally. "This is my home, these are my people, but maybe we could invite the court to come here, to learn, to see what healing really looks like." Ethan smiled, actually smiled. "Now that is a perfect idea. I'm a new stem to you, but Tonheim Quatsdalo." The invitation went out in autumn. Come to Ashwood, see healing in action, learn what service truly means. Some nobles scoffed. Others were curious. A few, a precious few, came with genuine hearts. Emma prepared for weeks, not with fancy clothes or elaborate meals, but by making sure the village was ready, that the sick were cared for, that the work continued. "Let them see the real thing," she told her helpers. "Not a show, not a performance, just what we do." Time. Laponthenfilhaum, Talcum and Permanso, Middle Gratami lay Lord Yamam, Dickadicadal, to Hopilis Mission Hopenso, de Logaf the Pommen Haupa that Dodiotive, Dickadacal, a prof the Belicted to Log when you have to word. The first night, Ethan found Emma in the garden. She was nervous, picking at her sleeves, worrying. "What if they think I'm fraud?" she asked. "What if they think you're a miracle?" "I'm neither. I'm just me." Ethan stepped closer, close enough that she could see the silver in his dark eyes. "That's exactly why they need to meet you." Something passed between them, a recognition, an understanding deeper than words. Emma's heart fluttered, not with fear this time, with something warmer, something that made her want to step closer instead of away. "Ethan." "Yes?" "Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me." He reached out, touched her cheek gently. "Thank you for letting me." "What, Pumice?" The first day of visits went well. Emma showed them her work, let them see her treat a child's broken arm, a woman's difficult birth, an old man's failing heart. She used her power sparingly, showed them mostly the herbs, the knowledge, the care. Anyone can learn this, she said. Power helps, but love heals more. Lord Harrison from the eastern provinces watched everything, asked questions, took notes. Could you teach this in other places, he asked. Of course, that's the point. My lands need healers. We've lost so many to war and plague. Emma's heart jumped. I could train teachers, people who could spread the knowledge. Would you? She looked at Ethan. He nodded encouragement. Yes, she said, I would. Not. That evening there was a feast. Simple food, but plenty of it. Conversations flowed like wine. Emma sat beside Ethan, watched him talk with the visitors, saw how he listened more than he spoke, how he cared about their problems. You're a good lord, she said quietly. I learned from a good teacher. Who? You showed me that power should serve, not rule. Emma's breath caught. When had he started looking at her like that? Like she was precious, like she was loved. Emma, his voice was soft, uncertain. I need to tell you something. Her heart raced. What? I care about you, more than I should, more than I planned. The words hung in the air like falling stars. More than you should? Emma whispered. We married for duty, for protection. I never meant to. To what? To fall in love with you. Pure sast, aprist patadult. The world stopped. Emma stared at him, at this strong, quiet, careful man who'd given her everything and asked for nothing. You love me? I do. His voice was sure now, steady. I love your kindness, your strength, the way you see good in everyone, the way you never give up. Tears filled Emma's eyes. I love you too. It was the first time she'd ever said those words. They felt like flying, like coming home, like every good thing she'd ever dreamed. Ethan smiled, really smiled, the smile that had been hiding behind his careful walls. May I kiss you? Emma nodded, heart pounding, hope soaring. He kissed her softly, gently, like she was something precious, something worth protecting. And for the first time in her life, Emma felt truly, completely loved. Week was like sand. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Emma recognized the handwriting immediately, her mother's sharp, angry script. Emma, we are coming to see what you have become. Your father has business with the Duke. Do not embarrass us further. Emma's hands shook. They were coming here, to her safe place, her home. What's wrong? Ethan asked, seeing her face. She showed him the letter, watched his jaw tighten. When? Next week. Ethan took her hand. They can't hurt you here. You don't know them. They'll try to take me back, or they'll tell everyone what I really am. Everyone already knows what you are, a healer, a good woman, my wife. But Emma's old fears crept back in, the cellar, the locks, the years of being called monster. Not. Her parents arrived with fanfare, a large carriage, expensive clothes, servants to carry their bags. They looked prosperous now, success written in silk and gold. Emma met them in the main hall, Ethan beside her, steady and strong. Her mother looked older, thinner. Her eyes were still cold. Emma. No warmth, no joy at seeing her daughter, just assessment. Mother, father. Her father barely glanced at her. He was studying the castle, calculating its worth. Lord Cole, he said to Ethan, thank you for taking our difficult daughter. Ethan's voice was ice. There's nothing difficult about Emma. She's remarkable. Her mother laughed, sharp, bitter, remarkable. Is that what we're calling it now? Moment powerful porn, to an keen word. You can defab. No say mordiv no, festiov, nadikani, hårdigende prosten ton fettigende words announced empowered tanda quotstor. The first dinner was tense. Emma's parents spoke around her, about her, never to her. She was always strange, her mother told the other guests. Born wrong, we tried to fix her, but some things can't be fixed. Emma sat silent. Old habits, old fears. But Ethan spoke up. Emma isn't broken. She's gifted. Gifted? Her father snorted. She's dangerous, unnatural. She's saved dozens of lives. She killed her own sister. The words hung in the air like poison. Emma went white. The old lie, the old blame. But this time, she wasn't alone. That's not true. Ethan's voice cut through the silence. And you know it. In tow. Later, in their room, Emma broke down. They'll never stop, she sobbed. They'll always see me as the monster who killed Sarah. Ethan held her, let her cry. Then he said, "Tell me what really happened." Emma had never told anyone the full truth, the real story. Sarah was born first, she whispered, but she wasn't breathing. The cord was wrapped around her neck. She was blue, dying. Ethan listened, silent, patient. I touched her. I was just a baby, but my power was already there. I gave her my life force, my strength. You saved her. For 10 minutes, then she died anyway. But my parents, they said I stole her breath, that I killed her to make myself stronger. That's not what happened. How do you know? Because I know you. You give life. You don't take it. The next morning brought worse news. Emma's parents had been talking, spreading stories, telling people that Emma was dangerous. Some villagers were starting to whisper, starting to doubt. Maybe we should leave, Emma said. Go somewhere else. No, Ethan was firm. We don't run from lies. But Emma could see the fear returning, in faces that had been kind, in voices that had been grateful. Her parents' poison was working. That afternoon, a child fell from a tree, badly hurt, bleeding. Emma ran to help, but the child's mother pulled him away. "Don't touch him," she screamed. "You'll curse him." Emma's heart shattered. These people, she'd saved their children, healed their families, and now, you see, her mother said quietly, "This is what you are, what you'll always be." Emma felt the old darkness creeping in, the shame, the certainty that maybe her parents were right. Maybe she was a monster after all.
Why?
That night, Emma sat in her garden, her sanctuary, her place of peace. But even here, she felt alone. Ethan found her there, sat beside her without words. "They're right," she finally said. "I am dangerous. No. That woman today, she was terrified of me. She was terrified of lies, of stories, not of you." Emma shook her head. "Maybe I should go back with them. Maybe that's where I belong." Ethan turned to face her, his eyes fierce. "You belong here, with me, with people who love you. But what if?" "No." His voice was stronger now. "I've watched you for months. I've seen your heart, your soul. You are not dangerous. You are not evil. You are not a monster. Then what am I? You're Emma. You're brilliant and kind and brave. You're the woman who saves lives, who builds hope, who makes the world better just by being in it." Too fogging. The next morning brought a crisis, a fire in the village, a family trapped. Emma heard the screams, saw the smoke. She ran without thinking, power blazing, ready to help, but the crowd held her back. "Don't let her near," someone shouted. "She might make it worse." Emma stopped, stunned. These people, her people, they feared her now. The family screamed inside the burning house, a child crying, a woman begging for help, and Emma stood frozen, powerful enough to save them, but too feared to try. Then Ethan was there, pushing through the crowd. "Let her pass," he commanded. "But my lord, What if? What if she saves them? What if we let them die because of fear? Jon tempel I torbingen. Wits the pie sound well hobbled the powerful drucken but mule, tostem gosalb. Emma looked at the burning house, then at the crowd, then at Ethan. He nodded. Go. She walked forward, power flowing, light blazing from her hands. The crowd gasped, whispered. Some ran, but Emma didn't stop. She touched the burning walls. Her power flowed into the wood. The flames died. The smoke cleared. She pulled the family out, one by one, safe, alive, unharmed. The child looked up at her. Are you an angel? Emma almost laughed, almost cried. No, sweetheart, I'm just someone who cares. Tulp. The crowd was silent, watching, waiting, waiting. Then the child's mother stepped forward, knelt before Emma. Thank you, she whispered. You saved my babies. One by one, others came forward. People Emma had healed, had helped, had loved, had loved. She delivered my son safely. She cured my father's fever. She taught my daughter to be brave. Emma's parents stood at the edge of the crowd, faces pale, plans crumbling. Her mother tried one last time. She's still dangerous. She could turn on you. But the baker's wife laughed. Dangerous? She's the gentlest soul in the village. She gives everything and asks for nothing. She's our healer, our friend, our blessing. Emma looked at her parents, really looked, and for the first time she didn't see powerful figures who controlled her fate. She saw two small, frightened, bitter people who had never learned to love. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Her mother blinked. For what? That you're so afraid of love, you can't recognize it. That you're so afraid of power, you can't see goodness. That you're so afraid of being different, you tried to destroy what made your daughter special. Her father stepped forward, angry. How dare you? No. Emma's voice was steady, strong. How dare you? How dare you call love evil? How dare you call healing dangerous? How dare you try to make me ashamed of who I am? She stood straighter, taller. I am not your monster. I am not your mistake. I am not your shame. I am Emma Cole. I am a healer. I am loved. And I am done being afraid of you. The picking-eyed and also dusing divtum. Her parents left that afternoon, quietly, without ceremony, without goodbye. Emma watched their carriage disappear and felt nothing. No sadness, no relief, just peace. Ethan wrapped his arms around her from behind. How do you feel? Emma leaned back against his chest, solid, warm, home. Free, she said. Finally, completely free. That evening, the village held a celebration, not because her parents left, but because Emma stayed. Because she chose them, chose love, chose herself. And as Emma danced under the stars with her husband, with her people, with her chosen family, she knew she was finally where she belonged. Not hidden away, not apologizing for existing, but shining, healing, living, being exactly who she was meant to be. Times de prito probit signed a based of one, de prito en yuka pist of one, probit signed of x, de prito and hub, one cook fasti quist of sign, de prito and wada probit side. Word travelled fast after Emma's stand against her parents. Not gossip this time, not whispered fears, but stories of courage, of a woman who chose love over fear, of healing that went beyond medicine to touch hearts. Letters came from across the realm, requests for help, invitations to teach, pleas for guidance. The kingdom needs what you have, Ethan said, reading through the latest batch. Emma looked at the letters. So many people hurting, so many places that needed hope. I can't go everywhere, she said. No, but you can teach others to go. Talk. They started small. A school in the castle, 10 women from nearby villages who wanted to learn. Emma taught them everything, herbs and healing, but also something more important. Your power doesn't come from magic, she told them. It comes from caring, from refusing to let people suffer when you can help. The women learned quickly. They returned to their villages as teachers themselves, spreading knowledge like seeds. Within a year, there were 50 trained healers across the northern provinces. Within 2, there were hundreds. Each one carried Emma's message, that healing was about love, that power should serve, that everyone deserved care. Time. You'd Lumbienya Justice. The royal court took notice, but not in the way Emma had feared. The queen herself came to visit, quietly, without fanfare. She was younger than Emma expected, tired, worn down by the weight of crown and duty. "I've heard stories about you," she said, "about what you've built here. We built it together, all of us." The queen looked around, at the thriving village, the happy people, the sense of community. "I want to learn," she said simply. So Emma taught her, not healing, the queen had no gift for that, but leadership, service, how to build instead of just ruling. "A crown is just another tool," Emma said, "like my hands, like knowledge. It's how you use it that matters." Years passed. Emma's network of healers grew into something beautiful, a web of caring that stretched across the kingdom. But more than that, it changed how people thought about power, about service, about what it meant to be strong. Noble families began sending their daughters to train with Emma, not to learn magic, but to learn purpose. "She taught my girl that privilege is responsibility," one lord wrote, "that having power means using it for others." Emma read the letter and smiled. James would have loved this, Ethan's gentle brother who believed in helping everyone. Sometimes, late at night, Emma thought she felt James's approval in the wind through the oak tree. "Buthate!" And the peaceful hopties. The greatest test came during the plague of Emma's 5th year at Ashwood. It was worse than the first, faster spreading, more deadly. Emma's healers worked tirelessly, but it wasn't enough. People died, good people, children, elders, friends. Emma pushed herself to the breaking point, used her power until her hands bled light, until she collapsed from exhaustion. "You can't save everyone," Ethan said, holding her as she cried. "Then what's the point of having power?" "The point is saving who you can, teaching others to save more, building something that lasts beyond any one person." Nubalittled. He was right. Emma's network held. Her trained healers worked miracles, not just with medicine, but with hope. They organized food distribution, comforted the grieving, kept communities together when fear threatened to tear them apart. The plague passed, the kingdom survived, and when it was over, people remembered not just Emma's power, but everyone's power, the power to care, to help, to choose love over fear. "You did that," the Queen said during her next visit. "You changed how we think about strength." Emma shook her head. "We all did that, together." But privately, she felt proud, not of her magic, but of what she'd built, what she'd inspired. A kingdom where power served love, where healing mattered more than wealth, where everyone had the chance to shine, just like she had. 10 years later, Emma stood in her garden on a spring morning, the same garden where she'd first found her confidence, where she'd first felt truly safe. But everything was different now, better. The garden bloomed with flowers from across the kingdom, gifts from people she'd trained, lives she'd touched, communities she'd helped heal, roses from the northern mountains, lilies from the southern valleys, herbs from every province where her healers worked. a living map of love spreading across the land.
Tomaklated Tamsel and sign of BP the Tomaklated Tamsel Captain upload to all meet bus. Punting pen dance sign.
Ethan found her there, as he did every morning. His hair was touched with silver now, lines around his eyes from years of smiling. The morning letters, he said, handing her a bundle. Emma read through them, updates from her healers, success stories, new challenges, requests for advice. Lady Sarah, in the eastern provinces, has trained 12 new healers this year, she read aloud. Master Julia reports that infant mortality in the coal mining region has dropped by half. Each letter was a life changed, a community strengthened, a future made brighter. "Are you proud?" Ethan asked. Emma considered the question. Pride had been dangerous once, something her parents used against her. But now, yes, she said, "I'm proud of what we've all accomplished together." Toy. That afternoon brought visitors, a delegation from across the sea. They'd heard about Emma's network, wanted to learn, to take the knowledge back to their own lands. "How do we start?" they asked. "How do we build what you've built?" Emma smiled. The same question she'd been asked 100 times. The answer was always the same. You start with one person who cares, one person willing to help, one person brave enough to use whatever power they have for good. That's all. That's everything. The rest grows from there. Shots to mention, the incovid Kraston, to tor in fortam pictai. Evening came soft and golden. Emma and Ethan walked through the village together, their village, their people, their family. Children ran laughing through the streets, healthy children whose lives had been saved by Emma's network. Women gathered to share healing knowledge, teaching each other, supporting each other. Men worked alongside them as equals, because Emma had shown them that strength came in many forms. "Do you ever regret it?" Ethan asked as they climbed the hill to their castle, staying here instead of seeing the world. Emma looked back at the village, then at the letters in her hands, then at the man who'd given her everything. "The world came to us," she said. "Everyone I needed to touch, everyone who needed to learn, they all found their way here. And now they carry it forward, to places I'll never see, to people I'll never meet, but who'll be touched by this, by us, by what we started." Toaded. That night, they sat by their fire, the same fire where Emma had first felt loved, where she'd first believed in herself. "Tell me again," Emma said, "about the day you decided to marry me." It was an old game between them, a favorite story. "I thought you were dangerous," Ethan said, settling her against his shoulder. "I was dangerous. You were powerful. I thought I was protecting the kingdom from you. And instead, you protected the kingdom for me, for all of us." Emma smiled. "We protected it together." "Together," he agreed. Tasson. Outside, snow began to fall, the first snow of winter, but inside their castle, inside their life, everything was warm. Emma thought about the scared girl who'd arrived 10 years ago, broken, beaten down, convinced she was a monster. That girl was still here, part of Emma's story, but no longer the whole story. Now she was Emma Cole, healer, teacher, leader, beloved, wife to a man who saw her heart, mother to a movement that would outlive them both, friend to a kingdom that was better because she'd chosen to stay. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked. "Everything," Emma said. "Nothing, just how strange life is, how it can surprise you."
What surprises?
"The best surprises." Later, much later, Emma stood at her window, looking out at the stars, the same stars that had watched over her in the cellar, in the carriage, during her first terrified night at Ashwood. But she wasn't that frightened girl anymore. She'd grown into her power, into her purpose, into herself. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new people to help, new ways to spread healing across the world. But tonight, she was simply grateful. For love found, for gifts used well, for a life lived in service to something larger than herself. She was Emma Cole. She was powerful. She was loved. And she was finally completely home. Tonk Pustafall, Buldi of Tong, Buldi of Meng. The end. The end.